Hey, hopefully the audio comes through with this mask on. It is Saturday, September 26th. 26th, is it?
Of 2020.
2020, right, exactly. And I'm here with RW Fred, the knife maker, on Instagram. What's the username? Is it
RW Fred Knives on Instagram.
all right? There you go. Go like and follow that. Check out what he got. And so I'm here doing this podcast today because I'm really excited for a knife that I want, that that we're building, that we're making. And so, but before we get into that and kind of showing, what he has and what makes RW Fred such, a VIP guest on here, we'll get into that after the introductions. So, introductions. My friend on Instagram, he's into art. He's into local artists. He's into supporting their trade and their craft and things like that. And he's up in Washington right now, and I got the episode on there with Will. Shout out to my boy, my friend Will Taylor, Sweet Culture Arts, and go follow him too on Instagram. And he was following you on because he was living out here in Sacramento, and we met in Cal Poly University when I was studying business, and he was into agriculture and things like that. And so it wasn't until this last year though that I really, I wanted a knife, because I got two guns right here, you feel me? So I don't need any necessarily knives or guns or anything like that, or for protection. I don't need anything else for protection, man, because I'm blessed to be good like that. And so, but just the art of it is something that why I reached out, and I wanted to see how much it costs for you to make a knife. And so, how long have you been making knives, and how many knives do you make a year? And do you have anything for sale right now? Average costs?
Well, knife making is a passion. It's not something that you can just step up and, hey, I'm making a knife. I tried that when I was young. I was about 15 when I started making knives, which math says 32, almost 33 years ago that I started trying to make knives. And just this past few years, I've actually gotten to where other people think I'm a decent knife maker. I don't know why. I'm just making knives that I enjoy, things that I find to be useful and somewhat attractive. And as far as knives per year, I'm not into a production mode. I'm making more one at a time, individual knives, trying to fit the knife to the character of the person, try to get to know the person in conversation a little bit so I can find out what their needs are, and then go from there when I make their knife for them. So that kind of restricts my production as far as being able to make a higher volume of knives. So I'll be lucky to make about 100 knives per year, 365 days a year. Of course, I usually don't work every day because I have a family and I have things I like to do outside of this. Everybody has to stop to go get some tacos. You can't just make knives all the time. Tacos are necessary in this life.
Right. And so we're in the shop here right now, and I took some pictures, of some of the tools that you're using. The anvil, you got a big anvil that's like 200 pounds around there.
Dude, a little over 260, 280 pounds. I haven't measured it in years. I can't really remember.
And heating up and hammering the steel.
Yes. So the way I make my knives is the way you would see a blacksmith work with tools to make different metal tools. Well, I'm more of a bladesmith, which is sort of an adaptation of being a blacksmith to a specialty in smithing out blades. So yeah, I heat up the steel, usually just under 2,000 degrees, and then I hammer your blade to shape. Yes, I hammer on your knife blade before you ever get to see it.
All right, let's see. Where does it? Because we're picking and pulling different colors, different handles, different blades, different styles like that. Where does it start?
Let's give them a peek at the project I'm working on for you. So we're going to start with the blade. This blade, I've already added a guard to it. The blade has been all hammered to shape, and then you have what's called the tang, the part that receives the handle. His is going to get this nice piece of deer antler.
You see this, and there's different. Can you maybe hand me the?
Yeah, we have.
The antlers here.
There's different sizes, different colors of antler.
Right, different. This is called a crown. And you said a crotch butt. There's a crotch butt that if I remember correctly.
And then there's that part, which would be referred to as a crotch butt. It's called a crotch butt because it's where the tines come up on the antler, leaving a crotch, and then that would go into the butt end of the knife, creating a crotch butt. It's not a dirty word, kids. It's a little bit of word play, that's all.
And there's horns. Isn't there horns that you could use?
Yeah, you could always add in a spike, something like that.
Horn or something
but they get uncomfortable if it's a blade that you're going to carry.
Antler.
So the piece we have chosen here will make for a much more comfortable grip when in the hand.
And I wanna keep it kind of a surprise until the unfold of it. It's a little sneak peek of what's going to be going in there.
It's going to make up this space here where the primary grip will be with these two fingers here. We'll get some color in there.
So as you can see, there's a few pieces that goes into something like this, and it takes what's about the time from start to finish, hammering it.
And the ideal is to get to a look like this, not exactly like this, but to where you have this space here with a fresh new color, a bit of antler, all held together, nice and solid.
There's a pin in that one, and maybe show them some different colors. I know there's wood. You can get wood or leather, right? Wood.
Yeah,
or
you
leather,
can.
Or
this one we're gonna go with
brass.
the chunk of wood. And then we have different pieces we could use to make up that space in the stack. We have some nice G Carta from G.I. Hansen and Son.
American walnut type of stuff.
You make some very colorful stuff like the Indian blanket. Love this stuff.
Or the Mexican, you said the sriracha.
Or Mexican blanket, yes. And then we have many different colors of wood that could be had. We have our natural, like walnuts. Really nice stuff, good old American walnut. We get some really colorful dyed, stabilized woods from Gulf Coast Blanks.
Red, blue, purple, green.
You can make a lot of different colors. Really fascinating stuff that it could come up with.
Yeah, so there's a big difference between a machine-made knife that's kind of how I got this sheath, or the leather. What is this called?
A sheath.
A sheath, but what material?
This is a nylon sheath.
And here's a nylon sheath that you've seen. Here's a leather, the leather work that So just we say quality of the nylon or versus the leather.
Mm-hmm. So both are functional. Not everything is going to work the same way for everybody else. We all use our things, our tools in our daily life differently. From how we use a kitchen knife to a sporting knife to a box cutter, how we carry them is different for each of us. So here we have a right-handed nylon sheath. This is a left-handed leather sheath. Not a big difference other than how it would end up being carried or where it's carried on the person. Myself, I prefer the leather. I like to wet form the leather so that the knife has a good hold in the sheath and doesn't just fall out. So it's easy to carry the knife.
That one is split. Show them like how it's split right there.
And with this one, it's a full tang. So that means the steel of the knife goes fully through the handle, and then you get the scales on the outside. This knife is spoken for. I don't currently have any knives up for sale, up for grabs. And the ideal is to have a good fit to keep the user or carrier safe. So,
right. So, I'm always seeing on Instagram you posting different knives, and I'm always asking, how much is that one going for? Is that one for sale or whatever like that? And so, what would say the current wait list as of now?
Right now, if you made a request today, in about 4 months is when I'd be able to actually start on your project. Maybe a little sooner, but
if you're a veteran,
usually,
right? If you're a veteran and you're going to be deployed or something like that,
well,
you might be able to make an exception.
If you're active duty military, yes, you have the option of saying, "Hey, I'm active duty." You'll send me an email from base or somewhere to where I could see the encryptions that come from those kind of emails, and I would know that yes, you are active duty, not just some guy with an old veteran's ID saying, "Send me a knife today." So if you're active duty, I could fast track you. I'll bump you to the front of the list. Try my best to get you a quality knife before you ship out. Right. Now, if you're a veteran, if you're law enforcement, first responder, those guys who are every day in harm's way, I like to try to give you guys a discount and a little better service if I can, wherever I can.
All right, and so what I want to click for the viewers and the audience is there's tools all around, there's knives all around. The welder, what's it called?
The forge.
The forger gets up to 2,000 degrees, so that's hot. You pulling that out, you pulling a blade out of there that's red hot, that you're hammering. I was saying, the shrapnel flying around and stuff like that, and it's dangerous. So be careful for sure. And also the hobby part, anything that starts as a hobby, you collecting knives, making, playing around with things. Just know anything that starts with a hobby isn't necessarily going to make you rich or a millionaire doing it.
Yeah, honest, very, very, very good words. Starting out doing this, I started as a teenager. Hey, Dad, I'll be in the garage. Let me borrow some of your tools. I tried a few things. Didn't really work out the way I thought it was going to.
And your dad's a veteran, right?
And my dad was a U.S. Army veteran, served in World War II during the occupation of Japan. But yeah, with any hobby that becomes something that you make a dollar at later on, there's always a risk working alone. If something were to happen to me, there's nobody next to me to help me out. If I were to cut my finger, I have to deal with that, manage that on my own. If I get something in my eye, I have to know exactly where my eye wash is so I could get that taken care of right away. Your safety equipment, these are great. Eye covering everywhere, all over the shop. Have several around your shop. You got to have your first aid kit handy. Mine's under a pile of paper over here. It's just common sense when you're working with things that cut metal, with things that drill through metal or other hard surfaces. You got these chunks of wood that you got to work with. You're going to shape it down. Well, you need tools that'll cut through this hard stuff. Those tools don't have the mind like we do to know to stop when they get to your fingers or anywhere else. So common sense. Take your time, be smart about it when you're
cutting,
shaping
working
things.
with wood, especially like splinters or anything like that, or things, debris flying around. Gloves, have some gloves on or something.
Yeah, that's a choice, an option. Myself, I don't use gloves because with some of the machines I use, they move very fast. Very quickly, that glove could get caught on the machine and pull the rest of your hand into the machine.
Okay.
So for me, it's better to trim my fingernails by accident than to get my entire hand pulled in with the glove. I've seen it a few times, like a drill press, a common tool a lot of people have. That drill is spinning.
That's crazy.
I've also got long hair. It's tied up and it's behind me when I'm working. Nothing that's going to catch easy on a machine. You don't want it accessible to the machine. You don't want to feed into your danger at all. So tie things up, have a fire extinguisher handy, keep band-aids around. Basic common sense safety.
Okay, and let's talk prices of one of these. Like you said before, it's intensive labor, manual labor, time. That you gotta be in the shop doing all this stuff. So what would be like this a complete knife that's all done, ready to go? How much? What's the range? And as you can see, they're all fixed knife. Do you make any folding knives?
I do make a friction folder, but I prefer to make fixed blade knives, ones that don't fold, ones that can't close up on your fingers when you're using them. The knives I make are somewhat artful, artistic, but more geared towards the outdoorsman, the utilitarian, somebody who's going to need a knife more than once a day. So if you're needing a knife maybe once or twice a day to open a letter or a box, you may want to go with a folding knife or production knife. But if you're going camping, hiking, you're going to be out away from some civilization, you're not going to be home. So do you make
folding knives?
I do from time to time, not very often. I keep one of my folding knives in my pocket. It's a friction folder. It doesn't have any kind of a lock to it. And friction is what keeps it closed. And
I like that. I like that little detail. That's cool right there. You got a little thing in here. Could you shave with one of these, you thinking?
If you sharpen it well enough, yeah.
Because those razor blades, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what that kind of looks like.
This is a progression or adaptation of the old school straight razors.
Straight razors,
yeah. Talking about safety and knives, I see a lot of people take their knife and they'll run their thumb on the blade to see how sharp it is, or flick it across the edge. Don't be that guy. Do not take a sharpened tool and test it on your flesh. Okay, it doesn't make sense to me. Sure, I understand some people will shave to see if it's razor sharp. A thumbnail with lateral pressure to the side while dragging across your thumbnail will tell you if a blade is sharp. You don't have to use your flesh, folks. Okay, be safe, be smart.
All right.
Okay,
and how much
to prices.
How much would a folding knife like this be?
These small friction folders,
compared to,
I ask $200 for those right now. The completed, this style that has a guard and a stacked handle with antler, this size, I ask about $300 shipped inside the USA. If you're outside the USA, we have to talk about the shipping charges and question about insurance with shipping.
So you don't just have to be local in California to get a knife. You can be in a different state, in a different country.
Yep. With these, the full tang, this size, I ask $250 for this size. And my knives, I always offer the leather sheath to go with them. You tell me if you want left or right-handed, one more custom part of the knife
with
making.
The leather and that one, how much would this be going?
With this one, I would ask $250.
Oh, really?
It's spoken for. It's not for sale. It's just an example.
Just an example.
Just an example, folks.
Already sold. It's already sold, right? Yeah. All right, man. Well, that's about it, man. In closing and wrapping things up, anyone you want to shout out? Any business partners? Any advice you want to give to the kids or anything? We already talked, about the safety and things like that. Any last minute things like that?
With this craft, I've learned over time, that knife making is new again. It used to be something that was commonplace in the world, and it is once again becoming new. It is becoming exciting. A lot of folks are trying to do it. And with that, I'd like to tell you old guys and you new guys to remember, knife making should be a community, not a competition. I hear too many times that this guy doesn't want to share his secret on how he does this part of knife making or that part, his heat treat, or how he adds a handle, or how he even drills a hole. It's common sense stuff. If you got questions, I'll share my information, no charge. You make me work, you make me sweat, make something, then I'll charge you. But
I like that. I like
knife making should be a community, not a competition.
Community, not a competition. What happens when it is?
When it becomes a competition,
competitive,
then people hold on to secrets. They hold on to things. I'm Native American, and could you imagine if people didn't want to share their language? Well, that happened to my people. Could you imagine if people didn't want to share their traditions? That happened to my people out of fear from a new government that came into place. Well, we're not trying to get political. It's just an example. If you're not sharing and you're trying to be competitive with your knowledge in knife making, what's going to happen to knife making? I learned over 30 years ago from a book in a library, because there was no information out there for anybody to just go and pick up. So I had to learn how to blacksmith before I could learn how to bladesmith, before I could learn how to make a knife. There was a lot of steps to it because there was no information shared. So don't be afraid to share that information if it's something that you enjoy, something you're passionate about and you want others to see in the future. If we don't share it, it dies.
All right, well, there you have it. And speaking of sharing, go share this video. Like, subscribe. Thanks. Stay tuned for the next one.